I'm Mario Martinez Jr., CEO and founder of Ingresso, and we are the creators of flymessage.io, the free personal writing assistant and text expander application. On each episode of this podcast, you will hear from sales leaders, practitioners, and influencers to help you grow your sales numbers at scale. So, get your pen and paper or iPad and keyboard and start taking notes as you're now listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of the Modern Selling Podcast. And today we're talking more about AI. I've got the man, the myth, and the legend himself, Mr. Jason Tan, the actual founder of Engage AI. Engage AI? Well, let me tell you a little about it. It is this cool tool that caught my attention long ago that helps me write using generative AI technology to write messages on LinkedIn. Comments, as an example. I don't have the time to sit there and read everything, but I want something to help me out so that I can engage with my target buyer. So, Jason, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mario. I really love your energy, like how you were starting with the introduction. That energy was buzzing. I mean, that was so much more than I expected. So thank you so much for the warm intro and the warm welcome, but also the shout out to Engage AI. I'm so excited to be chatting with you today and appearing on the podcast. As I said, it's good to be on the other side on the podcast. So I'm really looking forward to have this chat.
Well, this is going to be a great conversation because everybody's talking about it. ChatGPT, AI, blah, 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 blah. What do I do? How do I do it? How do I use it as a salesperson? And I want to bring this technology right to the forefront for individual sellers and sales leaders. But before we get into some of the depth and detail that we're going to talk about today, just do me a favor, Jason, talk a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Engage AI. And then afterwards, I've got a very special question for you.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Jason Tan. I'm the founder of Engage AI. But before I talk about Engage AI, I actually want to share a little bit about my background story and what is that led me to build the Engage AI. So I came to Australia 20 years ago and first generation immigrant, worked in the corporate for a number of years and then start doing my own businesses. And over the last few years, I run a consulting businesses delivering data science and AI solutions to the enterprise. And as you can imagine, running my own consulting business means that a lot of time I have to be out there prospecting, a lot of time to be out there keeping in touch with my client. Obviously, other than the very obvious one with the coffee meeting, endless of the coffee that I probably should have consumed lesser, or the lunch meeting. One of the really way that I have been able to scale is to keep in touch with the prospect and client on LinkedIn. So that is one thing that I have spent quite a bit of time over the years. I have met so many B2B business owners who are equally spending a lot of time on LinkedIn. But one of the challenge that myself and a lot of these B2B business owners have got is that we are out there busy servicing the client. We are out there prospecting and obviously with family, etc., all the lives going on. And yet we still have to keep our presence on LinkedIn. And it takes time, it takes energy. So that is how Engage AI came into the picture, because it was my own pain, that also a lot of the pain that I can relate to all of these small business, white collar, B2B business owner who are told who need to keep up their digital presence on LinkedIn. And so Engage AI solved that pain. One of the proven strategy that lots and lots of people have been using for decades, whether you are on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and also LinkedIn, is commenting strategy. Commenting strategy proven to be a working strategy in order to get the attention The problem, though, of commenting, especially in the early stage of the prospecting, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time because if you don't want to be another person who put up a fire emoji in responding or saying something like, "Thank you for sharing, great insight. I love this post." But if you want to provide something a little bit more unique so that you can catch the attention of your prospect, it takes time. It takes about 3 to 5 minutes to read a post, another 3 to 5 minutes to think about the what to write. All in all, 6 to 10 minutes just to write a write a comment. Imagine if you have to do that 10 touch point in order to get the attention. That would easily take 6 to 100 minutes just to get the attention. We don't necessarily have time for that. So sometimes it can be really good to have Engage AI, and that's how Engage AI come into the picture. It can help you to get over the writer's block, get you a starting point, and that is where the human in the loop still coming into the picture at their personal touch, and they can do the prospecting, commenting strategy a lot faster. That is what Engage AI, and I hope that resonates with millions of these B2B business owner out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, not just the business owners, but also individual sales reps, right? So you mentioned, 10 outreaches, and part of a sales cadence, frankly, should be call, email, text, video message, and then LinkedIn engagement, right? So am I just going to like someone's post? Am I really going to get found if I like that? Or what if I actually comment and I actually brought in emojis, and it looks like I actually read their post, and it looks like I actually brought in hashtags as an example into that particular comment, and then tag that individual? Now that's sexy. And now do that times the average number of outreaches by an SDR, a BDR, or a sales rep, which should be anywhere between, if you're an AE, maybe 20 to 50 touch points per day, to a BDR, which could be 40 to 100 touch points per day. Man, talk about streamlining it. This is game changing. Absolutely. With that in mind, I always ask a question of all my guests, and that is, tell us something nobody knows about you, even if they're looking at any or all of your social profiles. And, perhaps you might tell me that, you're a black belt or a red belt in jiu-jitsu or something. I don't know, but give me something juicy, Jason.
Well, something juicy that is going to get me on the newspaper tomorrow because it's so controversial is that I am still joining Toastmaster. So despite that I have been doing my podcast for over 3.5 years, I actually have started to join Toastmaster, I think about a year ago. And I'm so glad that I make that decision to join Toastmaster because it completely changed and give me even more confidence in speaking. And I just want to bring that back again to how about my journey, right? Mario, you probably can tell I am an engineer. I'm an engineer at heart, and which means I would rather put my head down doing work, solving problem, writing code, think of all of those crazy ideas rather than talking to people or marketing myself or pick up the phone to sell things, right? But that is something that I think the skills that I have been long so need to pick up, and I need to up my game since I started my business. So Toastmaster is really helpful for people like myself as an engineer to pick up my speaking game, to pick up my presentation skill, and also how to present in a structured way. So that is something that nobody and people are still finding it interesting, despite that my social profile present me as a podcaster who is out there selling myself. But the fact is, I am still joining Toastmaster, and I highly recommend anyone and everyone to do it, enjoy it.
Congratulations, Toastmasters. Boy, I haven't heard about first off, I know what Toastmasters is, but I haven't heard of someone using it in such a long time. That's really awesome, Jason. Congratulations. And what I can say is that pretty much almost every salesperson should go through some sort of skills-based presentation skills, speaking skills, learning how to pause at the right moment in time in order to be able to create the effect or accentuate something or really get a reaction, facial reactions. So I think it's a great thing, and congratulations on doing that. All right, let's get into some meat. There's a lot of buzz in the market around AI. And obviously, you guys are doing some really cool things with AI. The first, Jason, can you talk about for salespeople, sales leaders, sales enablement leaders, all the business owners listening in, what's the difference between generative AI and just AI, like integration with Chat GPT or Google Bard, or is there a difference?
Yeah, absolutely. So AI has been there for a long time, although its capability has been really go to the extreme level or has been improved so much over the last couple of years. So AI, if we just think of something as it is something that the computer can do what the human do. But beyond that, just typing something or beyond that, just automating. But the AI, it needs some human intelligence. It shows some sort of a human intelligence in there is what we call AI. So a couple of examples that I come to my mind in the works that we have been doing, and also that something that people would have been seeing is classic example is the newsfeed algorithm. So as they are scrolling their newsfeed on LinkedIn, Instagram, or YouTube, the recommendation of what they should be seeing, that is a classic example of artificial intelligence. Now, imagine before the AI coming into the picture, in the old day when we still read the paper-based magazine, newspaper, or even the TV program, that was actually a human who is the editor who decide what should go into the newspaper, what should go to the magazine, what should be presented to us on the TV. It was a human who made that intelligence decision based on their experience. However, with everything goes into digital, everything being built into this internet, human, however, cannot keep up the volume of all of these recommendation in the system like YouTube or LinkedIn. And that is where AI coming into the picture, where the editor can still work with the data scientist or the AI engineer to say these are the things that we should be looking at for as an editor, but equally we can incorporate the statistical model to understand how do we make such a recommendation for people to see. So that is what we call AI. Obviously, there are more example of that, but I think that is a really good example that a lot of people can relate to, since we are active on a lot of in those platforms. What is Gen AI? So Gen AI is really fascinating. I think before Gen AI, I think in fact, I probably would even say it is the Gen AI or the generative AI that has really caught the attention of the world. I think before ChatGPT come into picture, which is one of the most famous applications of the generative AI, if you talk to people about AI, people will be like, yeah, what is AI? Or, okay, so what? But people never really go far beyond. But generative AI with ChatGPT, it is able to write essay. It is able to generate images. It is able to generate music and video. And imagine how crazy is that? That is something that we have never, or we didn't see as much as before. So generative AI is about using the statistical model to create more text based on what you tell the computer, based on what you tell the system. It is able to generate the images with pixel because of all the images that it has process before. So that is what the generative AI, which is completely create something new, versus the AI, which is trying to tell you and recommend something that you have already done. So that is probably the way that I would think about the generative AI and AI. Hopefully that is probably something that I will explain to my kid as they are getting older, and when they ask me that question. And your question about the integration with ChatGPT and Googlebot, ChatGPT and Googlebot are the two representation of the generative AI. And there are so many applications who have integrated or who have used the API of the similar model of the ChatGPT from OpenAI to build their application. Engage AI is one of them, but there are so many other examples out there that we can talk about later.
So question is, would a tool, a platform like Engage AI, your platform, it's obviously integrating into OpenAI or ChatGPT's OpenAI APIs, and you're using GPT-4, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. Three and a half, 4, doesn't matter. You're using GPTs. So would Engage be considered the generative AI tool, or is generative AI the function or the output of what, as an example, Engage is creating, the comment? So when you go and use Engage to create a comment, as an example, then that is what is using generative AI technology.
that is correct.
Okay. Got it. Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk about the different categories or areas that AI could help a seller in. Now, we have a lot of topics, discussion going on in the sales field. Can you define some categories of where, say, sales leaders would be or should be looking at looking for help at?
Absolutely. I really think that there's a few things that the AI can help with, but I think it's probably worthwhile to highlight that the generative AI as well, because I think before the chat GPT coming into the storm and capture the attention of everyone back in November of 2022, generative AI was already there, and it was really popular as a AI copywriting tool, as a AI image generation tool. And I probably would say up until now, generative AI has been so popular, and one of its prominent use cases is the AR creative writing, because we all have writer's block. Sometimes we stare on the blank paper or the screen for half an hour, not too sure what to write. Generative AI has proven to be really useful. But as I said, it's always important to put human in the room. Engage AI is probably one of the very first one, or at least I think so, is that we help the seller. Instead of helping the marketer, we help the seller. And what exactly by that I mean is that, as we talked about earlier, as I and as you were pointing out, for how Engage is helping the BDR, is that how do you use Engage AI? How do you use the generative AI? How do you use AI to help you to capture the attention of your prospect? Without using Engage AI, with any AI copywriting tool, with ChatGPT, you can equally still do that. It's just a little bit more work. What that basically means is that you have to copy the content of the LinkedIn post or whatever content that is, go to ChatGPT, paste it. You have to write your prompt and say, hey, ChatGPT, write me a response in asking question, but also pointing out one really interesting thing of this content. ChatGPT will come out a response. You probably will like it, or if you don't like it, we'll try again, but let's assume that we like it. We'll copy the response generated by the ChatGPT back to LinkedIn post. We paste it. We probably also add a little bit more to add our personal touch. And then finally, we click the post or comment button. What that basically means is that is a lot of clicks. There's about 4 clicks and many writing to get that answer. And that how Engage AI is different is we integrate ourselves into the workflow. Now, that is a classic example how generative AI can be used for seller. And I think that is really one of the cases that people should be using. I know that in terms of the AI copywriting or the creative writing or generative AI, I know that people have been doing that for so long in helping them to write email. Other than that, the text expander, writing assistant, and that is where it could be equally useful as well. There are things that we always mention and we always say, and that is where text expander would be really useful. Like for example, I would use the text expander to tell people the URL of what Engage AI. I would use the text expander to tell people what Engage AI does. But that's one thing that people may not have thought of, Mario, and I suspect that you may not have thought of it as well, is that combining the text expander into generative AI. So what basically I mean is that when you are writing the prompt to ask ChatGPT to give you something, you want to give them as enough information as possible so that they can be as accurate as possible. So to avoid it has hallucinating. So hallucinating basically it means that it tell you rubbish and it tell you crap. So you want to give that as much information as possible. And that is required. That is the text expander can be really useful because you can write sometimes, like for example, I'm writing a book. You're probably the first one to know. As I was writing the book, there was a lot of background that I want to tell the chat GPT to say, hey, I'm writing this book. These are the background. And here's what I want to write, blah. I actually use text expander to help me to craft the first part. Because those are the information that I keep repeating to ChatGPT to make sure it stay on the ground, it stay on the right direction to help me doing the writing. So that's another example how I would actually combine the text expander with the generative AI to do writing. Obviously, there are many other things that that is possible with the AI. Like classic example is the understanding your buyer. That is another the area of the AI coming into the picture. That is probably where I say is the classic data analytic AI would coming into the picture, which is processing hundreds and hundreds of the data point to understand of your buyer behavior, to understand the personality inside, and also the intent data. That is where the AI could be extremely useful for the seller. I actually suspect that the next wave of the AI revolution is how do you combine the traditional AI technology or the area that the traditional AI were focusing and combine with the generative AI to create something out of it. I think that is the area that people should be really focusing and pay attention. And I think that would be extremely helpful for the seller.
So let's kind of break this down into some key takeaways that sales leaders and sales enablement leaders or marketing leaders and sales reps, business owners, all of you guys listening in can think about how it might be able to help. Let me kind of recap. Number one, you can utilize writing assistants like Grammarly or Linguix, which will help you with actual reconstructing what it is that you write, suggestions on how to change something better, or change a sentence to make it better, or correcting your actual grammar, punctuation. In addition, there are tools like Paragraph AI or Lavender, and soon to be Fly Message, which will allow you to be able to actually help you write an email, a message, a reply, a response, a paragraph, a list, an essay, those types of things that could actually help you with the writing process. Then there are tools like engagement insight tools. That would be Engage AI, Merlin as an example. Those are two tools, one of your guys' competitors that are out there. And then there's things like personality insights, like Humantech and Crystal Knows that essentially once you deploy using a text expander like Fly Message, a template, you could actually call up Humantech or Crystal Knows and say, check my template to see if this is going to resonate with that individual buyer. And so what it does is it looks at it and let's just say, Jason, my template says, hey, first name, exclamation point. Well, I changed that to say, hey, Jason, exclamation point. Now, the personality insights tool, which are done with AI, comes alive and says, you know what? Jason's kind of an old school type of guy. You really shouldn't put, hey, Jason, exclamation point. Rather, it should be, hello, Jason, comma. And that's some personality insights. And then we also have, which we didn't touch on, and we certainly can touch on, is platforms within the CRM, like Einstein, for example, or there are plenty of other tools for intent data or buyer level intent data that gives you, using artificial intelligence, gives you insights as a sales rep to say, hey, this potential buyer at this particular company has been traveling all over the web and has been looking at, you might want to consider reaching out to this particular buyer based upon the topics that they're searching, etc. So I think those are some cool tools and technologies, and each one of those are tools and technologies that, frankly, right now, if you're not buying it for the seller, your sellers are buying it for themselves. Period. Right. And so I know when in my heyday, when I was out selling, I would spend up to $200 a month in tools and technologies that I thought would be of value to me to be able to help me do my job better. So first off, sales leaders that are listening in, your sellers are doing it with or without you. But wouldn't it be nice if you actually had a tool that you could create the templates and the messaging and make sure that they're ubiquitously or using that particular message across on brand, on point, on tone, on product, right? All those things. Well, that's essentially what you want to be thinking about in some of these enterprise deals. But I do believe that platforms like Fly Message, as we expand out the AI writing capability from the text expansion, the writing assistant part, you're going to see a lot more enterprise type deals because people are going to be like, I got to buy it, I want to control it, and I want to have some level of ownership over the content.
Exactly. That is really, really spot on. I think one of the things that I noticed over the years is that we spend so much time in writing, and we spend so much time not just the writing, but also write really, really well. Because when the email is not written well, when the message is not written well, people are not going to resonate with it. People are not going to remember what you are trying to tell them. It is a very, very difficult skill set to master. And that is where all these tools that we just mentioned coming into the picture. Use the eyesight of the SF, the Salesforce, to really understand whether they are old school or modern. You were using a classic example. There are times when I use the word "Hey Mario" and I realize that no, hang on a second, that is really not the right tone to be speaking with, right? But really, I think the key part that I really want to highlight again is that I suspect that writing prompt is actually not that easy. Is a new skill that people are going to have to pick up. I was just speaking at the another event. One of the associate professor was saying that he feel like maybe there would be a new career called prompt trainer, right? That is so interesting to hear that the higher education are thinking about maybe that is a career called a prompt trainer. Now, before we have all of these prompt trainer to train the prompt engineer or to train how we use the prompt, text expander is going to be a great way as a replacement of the prompt trainer. You don't have to hire, you don't have to send 10, 20 or 200 of your sales rep to pick up the cost of the writing a prompt, because the reality is even when you said if you can afford to send those 200 people to pick up to do a course on prompting, not all of them are going to master it. So pick your best guy to go to these training course on writing prompt.
How funny you mentioned that about prompts. So one of our articles that we just published it in the last week, that has generated the most number of clicks in the last week is the article on best chat GPT prompts for any business use case. And we have inside there, 20 of them for sales, 20 of them for marketing, 20 for customer service, 20 for business owners, 24, and there's all different ones. And so people are looking for, well, what prompt should I use and how do I use that? And that's actually funny that you mentioned that, because it is actually the article that is causing the most amount of excitement on our website.
That is good. That is good. And was the best sales leader who go to the course and pick up those the skill set and the knowledge of writing the prompt, working with the creative writer. I think it's good to have the creative writer working with those people to craft your prompt, and that is the beauty of the text expander is going to come into the picture. You probably still have to refine it, but you are going to get a much better prompt. But how are you going to share that prompt to the 200 sales leader or the sales rep that you have got? Put them into the text expander. Put them into the text expander like fly message. And easily you can then share that with your 200 sales rep and how to use it. Your sales rep can use fly message to write that prompt, picking up the contact, setting into the chat GPT or any other tool to get a response.
Okay, Jason, you just gave me a great product addition. Inside of Fly Message, we have fly plates, and we have over 200 templates that we use for HR, business, business owners, sales, marketing, etc. We just wrote the articles on 100 of the best chat GPT prompts, and then 100 LinkedIn GPT prompts GPT prompts for LinkedIn. And hello, why was I not thinking I'm going to take all of those templates, every one of you, we're going to take all those templates and we're going to load it up into our fly plates for best chat GPT prompts in each of those categories: customer service, HR, sales enablement. Why did I not think of that brilliant idea? Yes, that's what we're going to do. And we're going to incorporate those into the fly plates. Great idea, great idea, great idea.
No problem. I'm glad you found its use cases. And I think that would be really helpful for anyone to just trying out a fly message. I highly recommend anyone who needs to write a lot, who need to do a lot of engagement, who need to do a lot of touch point, touch base with their buyer to use file message. It has saved me so much time. And I suspect that if you put all those things into as a template, load it up, it's gonna make people who just pick up the file message find more use cases to use file message. So keep me posted, because I would really love to be the first one to use it when you load it into the file message.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, hello. I was just thinking, why didn't I think of that? First off, the creator of Fly Message. Why didn't I think of where I write a paragraph, or I put write a paragraph? I have write a paragraph or a list or an article using this tone of voice, and I have all these prompts that I just type out each time. What was I thinking? How dumb of me. Okay, all right. See how the value of a text expander could help out there, in addition to an engagement insight tool. All right. Very good. Okay, that's my plug, my shameless plug, but it was a great idea. Let's talk about, because I don't want to run out of too much time. Generative AI driven prospecting strategies. In what ways can generative AI prospecting strategies help sales teams, business owners, or leaders achieve better results and drive revenue growth?
Absolutely. So we already spoken about how generative AI can be useful in creative writing, email engagement, etc. So I'm not going to go on too much into that because everyone knows exactly how to use it. But that's one thing that I probably I would say is extremely useful to achieve better result and drive rapid growth, and how it could help the sales team. So again, come back to my background. As I say, I am an engineer. I do data, I do analytics, I do advanced analytics, I do AI. That's my core skill set, and that is what I am good at. The circumstances and my career and the forced me to pick up marketing and to pick up the sales skill set over the last numbers of years. However, I am never going to be extremely good at those areas. And that is where my team coming into the picture, right? But I have picked up enough of them to understand at a high level what is important and why it is important. And I equally know what are all the things that we need to do when we are running a marketing campaign or a sales campaign. But because it's not my core skill set, I just never remember them. I just never remember them because it's not my core skill set. And that is where the generative AI driven prospecting strategy can be really useful. So this is how I would actually use the generative AI to help me on my non-core skill set. And in this example is prospecting strategy. So this is what I would go and do it. I would go and say, hey, I'm going to write an email to touch base again with the Mr. Buyer. This is the second, this is actually the third time we are going to talk about this. And we have already sent the proposal. Please tell me what are the 5 things that I should be doing in this particular touch point. Now, that is a very high chances of the probability that it's going to tell me the 5 things that I already know of. Or maybe it would tell me 4, right? While I don't expect, the truth is, I think this is where it is really important to set the expectation. I don't actually expect it to tell me some genius idea that I never thought of, some genius idea to really to close that deal. No, I don't expect that. But what I do expect though, when it tell me those 5 things, is it actually helped me to reinforce to make sure that I do that. Because the reality is, as much as I already know what are those 5 things that I need to be doing in that particular touch point, in that particular circumstances, using this AI-driven prospecting strategy, but because selling and marketing is not my concept, sometimes I just forget them. Unless I got my team member who is the sales leader, who is the marketing leader, to review what all those 5 things, but they are busy, right? So that is where I would actually use the generative AI to help me on my core skill set to remind me what are the important things. And that is to make sure I remember to do all of those 5 things. And in case I forget, guess what? It just reminded me to make sure that I really do those 5 things. So that is another way. So in summary, I would actually use generative AI as a reminder to help me on the things to remember to do, or all the important key points that I should be doing when I am out there prospecting at particular circumstances. So there you go.
Fantastic. All right. We're running out of time here, so I want to get just maybe 1 or 2 more questions in. And thinking about the sales professional, can you share any insights or tips on how to effectively balance the automation versus personalization in the prospecting strategies, especially when commenting on LinkedIn? And note, of course, we Ingresso have an entire sales training component in our Fly Learning module for our digital sales prospecting under our Fly Message Sales Pro plan, and that talks all about the key for personalization, right? The need. And what we've noticed and observed is that stupid in is stupid out. Right. And I got an email today, and I'll give you an example. It was a cadence email from a podcast company. And they said, "Oh, we've been listening to your podcast. We love it. It's such a great show. And we think that Dr. So-and-so would be a good candidate for your podcast. And here's why." And so Dr. So-and-so is in the, healthcare market, and Dr. So-and-so is all focused on, the personal health and those types of things. So I said, that's interesting. I said, thank you for listening to my show, but I'm curious, how do you think that they would be able to help a seller with personal health care, like hair loss and those types of things? And then they write back, "You're probably right. It's probably not a good fit, is it?" And I just thought, you just made yourself look like an idiot. And every single time that I see this company, agency, podcast that sends me something, I'm going to know that it's a total sales cadence, because you wasted. All you did was look at all the podcasts in the world underneath a specific category, business, by the way. That's where mine is located at. And under the category. And you just blanket approached a spray and pray email. And I reply back to you, challenging you. And you're like, "Yeah, it's probably not a good fit." But in your message, you wrote, "Oh, we love your podcast so much. It's so amazing. It's so great." Hello. So this is that balancing of automation versus personalization. What do you suggest sellers do when using a tool like Engage AI, where it's actually writing a comment for you before they hit post or send?
I can relate that so much because as a podcast host of my own podcast, The Analytics Show, I get that thing all the time. Equally on LinkedIn, I get exactly the same thing all the time. People were connecting with me and people were sending me messages to say, "Hey, Jason Tan, I really like what you're doing, blah." I have no problem with people trying to sell me things. We all have something to sell. We all have to make a living to provide for our family. I have no problem with that. I think really you touch on the key point here, right? Is that how do you balance the automation and the personalization? And I think this is where I think I would probably highlight two important things that people should be paying attention. Number one, it's okay to use automation. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that how you are using it. Do your work, do your preparation, making sure that whatever you put into the automation, you have done your homework to make sure part of the personalization is done well. Make sure you got the right information in there, because otherwise it's going to be the rubbish in, rubbish out. The spray, the shoot and spray situation is just not going to work anymore, right? So make sure you do the preparation. So my tips number one is do your preparation to make sure that the part of the personalization is spot on, whereas the rest of the part you can use template, you can use the automation, but equally use any other tool to help you to do the personalization. Number two, which is echoing the point number one, put the human in the loop. Put the human in the loop. And put the human in the loop is really what I'm saying. Whatever things, automation, generative AI, or even to the extent of Engage AI of what we do, we always recommend to put human in the loop. And that's exactly the reason why we don't want to, we never want to automate the entire thing, including pressing the button. Putting human in the loop basically means that have a human to review all of those automation and put their personal touch in there where it makes sense before you press the button. So I really think that putting in the loop at certain checkpoint is very important. So in summary, make sure you do enough preparation and put human in the loop is really the right strategy to balance between the automation and the personalization for their prospecting strategy and also sales cadence.
Okay, I have a secret. I have something to confess, and that is
tell me, Mario.
for the last 2 weeks, I don't think I have made any comments of my own accord. I have used Engage AI. I have used Merlin to actually look at the posts and to make comments and to reply. And I found it interesting because first I needed to read the post, and then click the button to create the engagement. And then once I did that, I read the reply, and it's been spot on. Other than doing an app mention, and on maybe one or two occasions I deleted out a random hashtag that some of the platforms threw out there, it's pretty darn spot on. So for the first 2 weeks, I basically read it and everything. And then about 2 days ago, I started to not read the post and just do the generative AI and click post and go. And I'm crossing my fingers that it actually makes sense. So I'm waiting to see someone be like, did you write this yourself? And the funny part is, okay, here's the funny part, Jason. My likes on my comments are getting more likes now than I did weeks ago before, when I was thinking about what to say. So it's so funny how this is being used, but the platforms are really that good that it's reading the materials. And of course there's context too. And I think it's important. Like one particular post was about the challenge of abuse and what we need to be thinking about in the workplace. And so, if you accidentally hit positive reply, where that wouldn't be the right tone, right, for a particular message. So you got to make sure that you are using your brain, right? AI doesn't make you smarter; it makes you more efficient. It makes you more productive, right? These tools and technologies make you more productive and efficient, giving you time back in your day to be able to do the important things like engage with buyers. So I think it's important that we balance the automation with the personalization. We allow the tools to do that, but then we make sure that we use our brain to actually read through materials, right?
I just want to say one thing is that if you are using AI and AI alone and you're not putting yourself or you are not putting human in the loop, you're not going to win.
Absolutely
You're
agree with
not
you.
going to win because the AI will still make some wrong copy, will still show some wrong data, will make wrong decision. You're gonna make yourself look a little bit stupid.
Yeah.
So AI and AI alone is not going to win you the war. And human alone is that it's only so much we can do. I think the one that who can win is the human and the AI approach. Embrace AI, make it as part of you, but always put human in the loop. And that is how you're going to be a lot more efficient, and that's how you're going to win.
We're gonna make some T-shirts, and it's gonna be called "Human in the Loop." That's what it's gonna be.
I
Human in the
love
loop.
it. I love it.
That's such a great point. Well, listen, Jason, I've had such a fun time talking about this topic, and some really cool tech that you guys are building out there, and I'm excited, especially when you combine these things with a text expander and generative AI and engagement insights. It's there's some really cool things you can do. But if someone wants to get connected with you or get a hold of you, what's the best way? Is it Twitter, LinkedIn, email, or connect with you on LinkedIn?
Probably the best way to connect with me. I'm based in Australia, so Twitter is not really our thing over here in Australia, but LinkedIn is probably the best way. Or otherwise, head to my podcast, The Analytics Show. Give me a shout out over there. But LinkedIn is the best way to get in touch.
Okay, so make sure when you reach out to Jason, send him a personalized invite and let him know that you heard him on the Modern Selling podcast. And last and final question, Jason, your all-time favorite movie, what is it?
I think it has got to be The Pursuit of Happiness by oh my god, I forgot his name. Smith.
I know exactly who you're talking about. My wife reads his books, and I cannot remember his name. But The Pursuit of Happiness is a great movie, actually. By the way, as well. Wasn't that with
Yeah.
Will Smith, right?
Yeah, Will Smith.
Yeah, Will Smith. Yeah.
How could I forget Will Smith? So, Pursuit of Happiness, I think it really give me the energy and the encouragement that we all want to do well in life, we may have started at a different point at the starting line compared to the rest of the world. But with the right determination, with the right tools, with the right direction, we all have the opportunity to do well and provide for our family. So that is probably my favorite movie and the message that I want to give to all the B2B business owner.
Fair enough. Well, there you have it. The Pursuit of Happiness. Make sure you go out there and watch that movie if you haven't seen it lately. And hey, don't turn that dial just quite yet. Listen to this very important message right now. Thanks for listening to the Modern Selling Podcast. Please do me a huge favor and give the Modern Selling Podcast a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Oh, and don't forget, if you'd like to save 20 hours or more in a month and increase your productivity, go right now and download FlyMessage, that's flymsg.io for free. It's your free text expander and personal writing assistant. Hey, thanks for listening in, and until the next episode, good selling.